Convergence, or the reemergence, I said that fast 3 times, of the feminine flow. If you're tuning into this segment, because I segment the two, and I've got them on YouTube and in podcast format and things like that. Just if you want to see the full shows, I've got an app. Yeah, I'm still kind of playing around with it. I've got an app. I'll post a link here that you can go in, and there's links to the videos, the podcasts, and things like that. For now, go to YouTube. Go to, oh, I don't know the prompter, otherwise I'd put it up. Go to video.healingcenter.ca, and it'll take you to the video, to the YouTube channel. And if you click through the playlist, you're going to find the full show. Anyway, so in the 777 manifesting portion of the show, if you're again watching this just as a clip, what I was talking about was, I'm going to put it in a really tiny nutshell, persistence, determination, that we're like warriors, and we don't go looking for a battle, but we also are very aware that in in manifesting our desires, the battle may find us. And that when that happens, to understand, first of all, that we're not doing anything wrong. Yeah, maybe you screwed up, I don't know. But just because you're having challenges doesn't mean you're not somehow doing the process correctly or things like that. And your greatest strength right now is to choose to see the other side, even though you might not be able to see it in that moment. Now, why are things so different now than they have been? Again, as I say, you've heard me say, I'm sure before, it's very much like a renaissance. Those movements that change the face of the globe, really, in ways that I'm very confident I haven't experienced in my years here, and I've been here a lot more years than most of you. And it's the reemergence of the feminine energy. Now, why is that so powerful? Well, the reason, so let me see how this is doing. Oof, I got to cool down my broadcaster here. I've been going too long. There we go. I'll just put you right there. The reason that is so that's the reemergence of this is a game changer, is because the nature of the feminine energy flow is one of power. Now, I just want to touch on power just a little bit. Power that is not externally focused or generated. See, so many of the normals, they think that they have power, or they're looking for power, but what they're really looking for is control. So control has everything to do with the external world. So those people that think they are powerful because they have oh my goodness, they have things you don't. They have privileges. There's the word, privileges that you don't. I mean, they can say, do this, do this, do this. I'm very powerful. No, that's not. That's control. Power has nothing to do with your external environment. Power has to do everything with your internal environment. And interestingly enough, and ironically, power, the true definition of it, is the complete absence of the need to control anything and everything in your physical surroundings. The feminine energy, the nature of the feminine energy is one of power. If you will, pure power. Unfettered, creative power. That same power that it just knows how to create. That's all it knows how to do, is create. That's minimizing it way more than it should be, but that's what it does, is it creates. It's like it gives form to. The picture that just popped into my mind is when I was going to, when I was in grade 8, we went to shop class, and we made things out of clay. So you had a plaster mold, and then you took the clay, which was like a slurry, and you poured it into the mold. And then, of course, the clay took the form of the mold, right? Well, in many respects, you can think of the feminine energy as the clay, right? It was like a slurry, so it's liquid. And this liquid, in many respects, has no form when you look at it. So this liquid is looking for a form to fill. And that's the topic of this portion of the show, is the feminine energy. And sometimes I think we get stuck into its, and remember, a masculine energy, feminine energy is not male, female. It's the characteristics of it, right? Is that, and it's almost a connotation of it, is that the masculine energy is somehow evil or bad or all that kind of stuff. Well, it's not really evil or bad. It's just when it's completely over leveraged in that direction, then it manifests as control. So then the byproduct or the outcome of it is sure a whole lot less than you'd want to see. But it's not that it's inherently bad. It's just that it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. See, and this is one of the big things that have been going on for generations upon generations, is because that feminine energy flow has been stifled, has been allowed to atrophy, has been vilified, all sorts of wonderful words. So now we're trying to do everything with the masculine. So that's kind of like with my good old clay mold. You've got a plaster mold of a vase, but you've got no clay to fill it. And you're trying to somehow make this vase with this plaster mold without the clay to fill it. Well, it's just not going to work. And so the masculine very much is like the plaster mold. It gives a form for the feminine energy to give form to, which is really kind of interesting. So it's not this reemergence of the feminine that's washing the masculine away. It's a reemergence of the feminine blending with the masculine. And now you've got the power. You see, if you think about it, use my whole clay analogy. If you got this big bucket of liquid like clay, right, slurry, and you just pour it on the floor, it just goes everywhere. It just kind of makes a mess when you think about it, right? You see, so the masculine needs a feminine and the feminine needs the masculine. Because clay without a form to fill is just nothing. At least it doesn't serve like a purpose. It wants to become something in our physical experience, right? And it's like electricity. You got electricity in the wall, but it doesn't do a damn thing until you plug something into it. And so as this feminine is reemerging, what it's looking for is you and me to create these plaster casts so it can flow into it and give it form, which really fits in well with the warrior, because the warrior is one that holds that. It holds that form. So what's the form? The form is your desire, right? The form is the experience you want to see. The form is the flavoring of the experience you want to see. That's the form. But then, excuse me, then as we surrender to that feminine energy flow, we're now allowing that clay to flow into the cast and to give it form. Which is why it's a blending of the warrior. I don't know what the other word for this is. The warrior and that creative flowing to blend together. Very powerful strength, and to hold your vision, right? The masculine, the plaster form, to hold that vision, but understand it's not our job to fill it, to give it form. See, this is what you focus. This is what you hold. This is what when the resistance comes, it's going to try and shatter that form. And maybe sometimes it does. So then build it again. Maybe sometimes it causes it to crack. Well, fill it up and prepare the crack and hold that form. But then surrendering, which is a big piece of what Convergence is all about, and the Facebook group is about, surrendering to that feminine flow and allowing that clay to flow into the plaster and then give it form. And an interesting end to this little journey, and the end to the show, is that clay flows into the form, and then we would have to leave it overnight or however long, because the plaster would then absorb the nutrients out of the clay. Then you would take the plaster off, and there is the shape. So there's this wonderful experience of creating the form, surrendering to that which gives form to it, flows into it. As it's flowing into it, that plaster cast is there to hold and support it for a period of time and draw that moisture out of the clay. And then when the time is right, the plaster cast is released. And there's a beautiful vase, which is a wonderful example of how the manifesting process was always designed to be. And now, in a very powerful way, there is potentials and access to these resources that we've never had, at least in our lifetimes, to manifest things that we never dreamed we could manifest before. Maybe for a long, long time, you've had that plaster cast, but it just doesn't ever seem to have formed. the feminine is reemerging to give it form, which is a big piece of what convergence is all about. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it so much. As I said, I clip these out. I post them on YouTube under playlists. I'll post maybe some links in the comments or something like that. Share. We're all in this together. If you want to be part of either group, 777 Club, or conversations we all want to have, message me. I'll send you details. See you on the web.